Whatever path you are on, whatever inspired you to come here today, we honor you and we welcome you. And now, our message.
And as we pray this moment in this service into recognizing that power and that presence that is everywhere, oneness. Knowing that there is that oneness exists and it's showing up in a multiplicity of ways. Knowing that I am, you are, we are all individualized expressions of it. I speak my word knowing that it is the power expressing through me. And what I know is that each and every one of us came here today for something. We gave ourselves permission to be here. And so just taking a second to consciously arrive here and now. Closing the door of the past, see that door close. Closing the door of tomorrow and next month and next week and next year, see that door close. Arriving now. The only moment. The moment of pure creation. So I speak my word knowing that each and every one of us are blessed in some way today from this divine message that's coming forth through Reverend Ali. Authentic power. Authentic power. And so I give thanks. I give thanks for each and every one of you being here, being a part of my journey. Thank you. Thank you. It would not be the same without you. And when you're ready, open up your mind, open up your eyes, and open up your hearts, and be in this very moment right here and now. Thank you. So I'm going to take our kids and we're going to go back and work on some authentic power. But before I do, I wanted to announce my beloved, my beautiful wife, Reverend Ali, who's going to be speaking today on authentic power.
Good morning again. Wow, it's been a while. I have been gone for the last 2 weeks, and I've been on a grand adventure, a grand journey. 2 weeks ago, Michael and I were down at Parliament of World Religions down in Salt Lake City. We were volunteering there in the New Thought booth. It was a coming together of 3 different organizations. ANTN, which is an organization that we're affiliated with as the Satya Center, the affiliated New Thought Network, that was one. And then AGNT, which is a affiliated Global New Thought Network. And Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith is the director of that organization, along with many ministers and leaders from all sorts of different New Thought centers from around the world. And then the third one is CSL, Centers for Spiritual Living. So those 3 organizations came together and put on a booth, and so there was opportunities for us to go and volunteer there. And I felt a bit funny that I didn't attend the Parliament because it had such an amazing vibe to it. There were monks of all different orders. There were angels and from Australia with these huge wings. I don't really know what organization they were with, but they would walk around the Salt Palace and outside, offering blessings and prayers for people. It was just such a rich, diverse world fair. It seemed like just this amazing place where all different religions were coming together to talk about some real issues, to talk about what they could do, what they could go back into their own communities and do to create change. And some of the issues were to create clean drinking water, among so many other things. There were so many issues going on. There were some heavy things, and then there were some great light things. And I see our representation there, New Thought represented by Marianne Williamson was there speaking. And Michael Beckwith was there. And New Thought is now two times in a row. I think it only happens every 7 years. The last one was in Melbourne, Australia. And two times now, New Thought has actually been recognized as a movement, as a spiritual movement. So that's good for us. So, yeah. And I wasn't in Michael Beckwith's talk, but I heard a lot of my minister friends from around the country were there, and they said there were a lot of people from other faith traditions that were saying, what is this New Thought? And that guy was pretty amazing. So maybe people are waking up to see that there is this other movement that is kind of an alternative spiritual movement. So I was really pleased to be a part of that. And then last week I was in the Big Bear Center for Spiritual Enrichment, which was one of the centers that is the center where I got my training years ago in New Thought. We were there visiting Michael's mother, who is going through some health challenges at the moment. Anyway, long story to tell you where I've been. I'm very happy to be here now. So we're moving out of the month of compassion, which was October, into the month of spiritual partnership, the month of November, and gratitude. Can't forget gratitude. Thanksgiving, this month of Thanksgiving is one of my favorite times of year. And I'm sure it's yours too, but I think growing up in England, we didn't have Thanksgiving. And so, not that we're not thankful in England, but we don't celebrate Thanksgiving, obviously, because we didn't have the Native Americans and the pilgrims coming to, we were the pilgrims, or so to say. So it's always fun to engage in the energy of Thanksgiving and to bring more attention to it. I believe that gratitude really is the most dynamic energy in the universe. Well, maybe love, gratitude, same thing. So I feel like being in an atmosphere, an energy, an attitude of gratitude, we will see that the universe, our world, becomes a friendlier place. So maybe try that on. Maybe this could be day 1 of 30 days of gratitude. Sound good?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No?
Yeah.
Yeah, all of you? Okay, good. So I am basing my talk from this book by Gary Zukav, Spiritual Partnership, The Journey to Authentic Power. Has anyone read any of Gary Zukav's work? Mm-hmm. He wrote a book years ago, maybe 20 years ago now, The Seat of the Soul, which was one of the first books, metaphysical books that I read when I was in my late 20s coming into this teaching. And it really helped give me some perspective into myself and the different aspects of my being. So, as Lyle mentioned, all month long we're going to be exploring our relationships. Today I'm going to be sharing about our interpersonal relationships and our relationship with ourselves, and tapping into authentic power so that we can bring forth that authentic power into our relationships. And then we'll be focusing on money and health and work. Yeah, money, health, and work, and our relationships with those. And as I was doing my research for this talk, I thought of the native teaching of being in right relations. Being in right relations. And then I started thinking of all the different spiritual teachings, all the faith traditions really talk about a partnership. Yoga talks about yoking to the divine. Religion actually means binding to the divine. So all of our faith traditions seem to be talking about this relationship that we have to something greater, something eternal, something infinite, something ineffable. But all of us ministers get up here on Sundays trying to talk about something that's hard to talk about. That amazing substance, that power, that love, that energy. And so that's what we're talking about as far as a partnership with that. A partnership with that God. And in New Thought, we don't see a God being some person outside of ourselves, but something that we experience inside and outside. It's a both and. It's this oneness that India Ari was talking about. It's this call for something more that last song of Karen Drucker was referring to. This call for ourselves to become intimately connected to this inner love, this inner wisdom, this inner belongingness. That's the authentic relationship, that spiritual partnership that allows us access to authentic power. It seems like as I look back in my mind's eye to back down the evolutionary path that we've walked as a species, I can see that we've really been attached to external power. We've been seeking power from the outside. And this teaching is about learning that it is accessed through inside and through becoming awakened to what opens up to that power, which is being loving and being kind and compassionate and giving and honest and authentic. Whereas in the past, seeking external power, we look to find that power outside of ourselves. So I'm going to share a couple of quotes. Ernest Holmes, the author of Science of Mind and Spirit, said, what is it we need for greater freedom and power? Nothing, but a greater realization of what we already have and who we already are. So we already have this power. And we already are this power. It's simply becoming aware of it. Self-realization. In his book, Gary Zukav says, whatever you call your path, it is not spiritual if your interactions are not becoming more conscious and more loving. This book is about our new relationships. A new and surprising world is emerging that requires each of us to explore the sources of our love and cultivate them and the inner sources of all that prevent us from loving, our fears, and heal them. Our evolution has taken a new path, and our relationships are changing in unexpected ways. We are evolving beyond the limits of our five senses and encountering more expanded experiences of ourselves and our world than were previously possible. Where once our perception was confined to what we see, hear, taste, touch, and smell, we are now increasingly able to access data that these senses cannot detect. This expanded perception is forever altering our experiences of ourselves, our world, and our relationships. Our evolution now presents us at each moment with a profound choice. We can pretend that our lives and the world are not changing and continue to relate to one another as before, or we can use our relationships to transform ourselves into authentically powerful, loving individuals. Creating authentic power is a process, not an event. It is the purpose of your life and the opportunity of your interactions. Authentic power is a journey, not a destination. It is a journey that few have taken before, and that all of us are now required to complete as humanity transits from a five sensory species that evolved by surviving into a multi-sensory species that evolves by spiritually growing. So we're being asked to grow, to stretch ourselves beyond the five senses, and to develop that inner faculty of intuition, of insight, and awareness, of activating that wisdom within us that discerns, that knows, that makes choices based not on what the five senses necessarily tell us, but that's part of it, but what that inner wisdom tells us, that inner part of us that is free from fear, that is abundant, that is powerful, that doesn't hold back from being absolutely loving, that gives unconditional love always. That is what we're being called to be all the time. But we're presented with many opportunities to shut down, to close down, to make excuses as to why we need to not share our unconditional love. And it seems to me that our greatest opportunity for that is through our relationships. Now, life goes pretty good for me when I'm by myself and I'm having my wonderful spiritual practice, my meditation, my prayer work. And then Michael wakes up and comes into the room, and then something happens. Something happens to me. I start to have stories. I start to think that, well, he should. Just now, when we were sitting next to each other, he was sitting too close to me. He was like bumping up, his leg was moving in movement to the song, and I was like starting to make up a story. I wasn't even listening to the words of the music or enjoying it because anyone? Those, I want you to hear this. Those are our teachable moments. Those are our divine teachable moments. Now that's a very benign kind of example. That's, I can pull myself together at that moment and say, get a hold of yourself, knock it off, Allison. Just move over an inch or whatever. But what about when someone's triggering you? What about when someone presses a wound within you that is so sensitive that you lose all of your spiritualness? And your walls come up, or maybe you lash out, or you try and fix. Now those seem to be the three really wise coping strategies of the ego. To run away, to get angry, or to fix it. Oh. And it just always keeps happening. Somehow we come into these beautiful metaphysical teachings and we do our yoga, we do our prayer work, or whatever particular spiritual practices you have, and we think that if we do this, we're going to sort of elevate and transcend all of our humanness. Or somehow it just rolls off our back. But it doesn't. I've been doing this. I'm 53, and I've been doing this since I was 28. And I was triggered. We're with my beloved mother-in-law, who's experiencing the physical experience of cancer at the moment, lung cancer. And she's getting her life in order, and she was really in great spirits for the first 3 days, and then when it was the time just before we were leaving, I sensed a shift in her. Now she calls it chemo brain, and maybe it was a little bit of that, but I sensed fear. I sensed some fear coming up in her, which triggered something in me. And her fear showed up as her being angry, and her being frustrated. And I could hear Michael and her in the back room talking about her living trust, and talking about all the loose ends, and her wanting to get everything sorted out because she didn't want to leave a mess when she goes. And all of this was, I'm sitting there and I was being triggered. I was being I started to feel that frozen energy. Anyone ever feel a frozen energy? Yeah, and you feel it, and it's usually attached, my shoulders stuck like this. And it's usually attached to something that happened in the first 7 years of life, or maybe the first 10 years of life. And mine is about, well, we'll get to that another time. So I'm sitting there listening and getting more and more in my ego, more and more tense, more and more tight. And as she's getting very angry, this is what I do when I hear anger, when I want to make myself so small that I don't make anything worse. I want to make my energy so tiny and invisible that I don't contribute to what's happening. So I did that. And I'm knitting away on the couch, thinking, what can I do? There's nowhere to run and hide. And then my minister self, it's like, get a hold of yourself. You're the presence of love and peace and kindness here. But I could sense that tug of wanting to retreat. And then all hell broke loose. She came into the living room where I was. And she's back in her office, and I hear her say, and Allison told me she was going to get those photographs printed up. And I'm like,
Under siege.
And so I'm like, oh my God. I get on my phone and I'm looking for those damn photographs. And I'm finding them and emailing them to myself so I can go onto a computer and print them up. So I did. That was me. Absolutely an ego, trying to fix this whole situation, printing up these pictures, giving them to Michael to hand to her, because I don't want to be Anyway, blah, 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 blah. And it was very upsetting at the time. But now as I look back, it's like, oh, that sweet little ego got activated. That frightened part of my personality that has unskilled behavior. And it's okay. Because now I know, now I've seen it. I've experienced it my whole life. I just haven't quite seen it the way I saw it this time. Now, it would have been most beneficial for my relationship with my mother-in-law and my husband and myself had I remained open and loving and available and non-reactive. I could have mailed her the damn photographs when I got back. I didn't have to add to the disharmony of that moment. The universe was presenting me a divine, teachable moment. Did I miss it? Did I miss it? And I say no. It was a perfect moment. It was a perfect moment for me to fall in love with myself. For me to have greater compassion for myself. And know that we all behave badly like that sometimes. We all get triggered. We all run away or get angry or try and fix things. So maybe you can notice this week, my gosh, we're at the end of time. I think your message is on how to develop a better relationship with time.
No, mine's work.
Work. Oh, good.
Good.
So maybe you take this week to just explore your relationships. Explore those people, especially those special people. Those special relationships, I think A Course in Miracles calls them special relationships. I like that. And notice if you can't take those special relationships and those opportunities and see them as teachable moments. where you can learn to fall more deeply in love with yourself. Because that is why you're here. To access the authentic power that is within you, that is yours to bring forth into every relationship. So I encourage you to get this book. And if you don't get the book, you can find that back on the bookstore table, I printed up Gary Zukav's guidelines for spiritual partnerships. So he outlines how to be in a mature spiritual relationship with yourself and your partner. And it's a new way. It's moving beyond the ego. It's having the courage and the confidence and the commitment to your spiritual path so that you can not shrink back when you're ignited, when you're reactive, when the ego is in fear, when that fearful part of your personality gets triggered. So see Claire or whoever's back there at the table, and they'll give you one of those. Okay. So I'd like to close in prayer. So I turn within now and I speak my word. And I speak this prayer in first person. And if you align with my words, please have them as your own. Feel them as your own. Know them as your own. I feel this one loving presence that indwells me, that is everything I feel, see, taste, touch, and experience. This one loving presence that disguises itself as a multiplicity of form, yet it's not in disguise. I am clearly seeing, more clear than I've ever seen before. Feeling more profoundly than I've ever felt before. Sensing this presence closer than close. It is my breath. It is the energy and information that is supporting life. It is this spirit, this ineffable, this spark that ignites itself in every moment to express so perfectly. As I sense it and feel it and know it, I see that this infinite organizing intelligence is responsive to my every word, my every thought, my every action. So I speak my word now. That my path this week is one of peace and harmony and creativity and love. And as I speak these words, I'm activating this awareness in my DNA, in my very heart. My prayer is an activation in consciousness that says, yes, yes, I am here to be the presence of love. Yes, I commit to being in authentic spiritual partnerships with all areas of my life. Yes, I am kind and loving to myself when I get triggered. When I meet a frightened part of somebody else's personality, I have compassion. And I know that my only job here on planet Earth is to show up in my authentic power as the expression of unconditional love. And I become united inside, united with my God. I just simply let go of the illusion of separation, of separateness. And I see it all as one. So I give great thanks for this awareness, for this activation of consciousness that is rippling out through time and space right now. I give thanks for the Satya Center, for all of our amazing classes and opportunities, for spiritual community, to be together with like-minded people, to help bring more love alive here in Ogden. And I simply release these words, knowing them to be already so. It's already here. This is it. Thank you. So it is.
Thank you for blessing us with your presence today and being a part of the Satya Center. You're invited to join Reverend Ali and Reverend Lyle each Sunday morning at 10 a.m. for your dose of connection, inspiration, and co-creation. The Satya Center is located at 795 24th Street, Ogden, Utah. For directions, a map, and our service times, please see our website, thesatyacenter.org. This program was brought to you by the kind donations from the members of the Satya Center. Thank you.